this is really my third ceremony being here, honoring the International Day of Commemoration of the victims of the Holocaust. And I stand here, I would say, with growing humility and appreciation. My time in Rwanda made me humbler. I've realized that when it comes to humanity, I really understand less and not more. Humans, it seems, capable of the most divine creations and are the creators of the biggest atrocities beyond the grasp of any mind. For all of you, I want to deeply thank you for your presence today, last year, the year before, for your partnership and for your shared commitment into this important day of memory, remembering and honoring the 6 million Holocaust victims. Today, on the International Day of Commemoration of the Victims of the Holocaust, we gather not only to mourn them, all the Jewish women, men, and children who were brutally murdered, but to affirm a responsibility that transcends time, as Ozonia said before. Under the Nazi regime, Jews were stripped of every aspect of their humanity. They were forced into ghettos, starved, humiliated, dehumanized, and marked for death simply because they were Jews. Families were torn apart, children were separated from their parents. Millions were deported in cattle cars to concentration and extermination camps. Just to say few, Auschwitz, Treblinka, Sobibor, places that became factories of death. Jews were murdered by bullets, by gas, by hunger, by illness, by insufferable fatigue and forced labor, and by so-called medical experimentation. They were denied names, reduced to numbers, and treated as less, much less than humans. Entire communities that had existed for centuries across Europe were razed in a few years. This year's theme, called Bridging Generations, we had it before Dani Shashua from our Jewish community, a younger member, because this theme of bridging generations reminds us that memory is not static. It is a living inheritance passed from survivors to their children, from the children to the grandchildren, and ultimately to all of us. The Holocaust did not begin with gas chambers. It began with words, with lies, with exclusion, with anti-Semitism that dehumanized Jews, portrayed them as threats, and stripped them of dignity long, long before their lives were taken. Anti-Semitism was not an accident of history. It was cultivated, normalized, and weaponized by a society that chose silence over resistance. Gapping generations is not just remembering the past. It is a very difficult attempt to keep the seeds of alert that despite the comfort of our lives, history tends in the most mysterious ways to repeat itself. We might think that those who lived through the Holocaust were different people, different time, different world. We tell ourselves it cannot happen to us. But many of the victims of the Holocaust did not believe it would happen to them either. They were citizens, neighbors, veterans, professionals, parents sending their children to school. Europe was educated, modern, and cultured, and yet it became the site of one of the biggest crimes in human history. Separating the past from current trends of the present is a true danger of generational distance. That is why remembrance matters, and that is why it must never be passive. In recent years, we have witnessed a troubling escalation in anti-Semitism around the world. Thousands of attacks, with a terrible accord of a terror attack in Sydney last Hanukkah. Among the victims, a young girl, only 10 years old. Even though the Jewish community in Australia had warned authorities, no one really wanted to believe this could happen. Yet, we see it on the streets, on campuses, and online. Old conspiracies are repackaged to meet the new rules of social media. Hate is amplified by technology, and critical thinking is hard to find. Holocaust denial and distortion are spreading, particularly among younger generations who did not grow up hearing survivors speak firsthand. The truth that has been proven in so many psychological experiments is actually quite simple. Humans find it difficult to confront information that doesn't fit their own beliefs. Most do not want to believe that they are anti-Semites, and no one wants to accept that he could be a victim of anti-Semitism. It's just too much to handle. Here in Rwanda, this truth is understood with a depth that commands respect. The pain of genocide is not abstract here. It is a lived memory. The survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi carry stories that echo the experiences of Holocaust survivors, stories on unimaginable loss of silence from the world and the devastating consequences of hatred, and that was left unchecked. Yet Rwanda also teaches the world something extraordinary, that remembrance can coexist with renewal, that justice and reconciliations are possible, and that a society can choose life after devastation. We're especially honored to have with us Mr. Einat Weiss, a Holocaust survivor who my dear friend Heike and myself had the honor to have lunch with today, who is an incredible wise man with incredible stories. His presence is itself a bridge between generations. Survivors like Mr. Weiss are not only witnesses to history, they are moral compasses. As time moves forward and fewer survivors remain with us, the responsibility to carry their voices become ours. This is precisely why bridging generation is a call for action. It calls on us to educate, to ensure that the young generation understand that only what happened, but not only what happened, but how it happened. It calls on us to listen to survivors, to teach others, and to the warning signs in our society today. Remembrance without action is incomplete. Today's commemoration, organized in partnership with the Embassy of the Federal of the Republic of Germany, the United Nations Coordination Office in Rwanda, and Aegis Trust, reflects a shared conviction that the lessons of the past belong to all humanity. To the young generation here today, you are not too young to remember. You are the guardians of memory now. It might feel heavy duty, but the future will ask you what you did with the knowledge you inherited. To the survivors among us of the Holocaust and of the genocide against the Tutsi, we say, we see you, we honor you, and we commit to carrying your stories forward. One last note. I would like to take this opportunity to honor the memory of two very special people whose life and story remind us why remembrance matters. They were the Holocaust survivors who had helped to build Israel and to create, or what we hope, better society. The first one is my own grandmother, Bella Liebenson, who was born exactly today, 100 years ago, and passed away last year. She carried stories of hope and love. For me, she was a symbol of strength and resilience. And the second is Mr. Aryeh Greenheim, who passed away yesterday. He's the grandfather of my deputy, Ron Margalit. I'm sure his grandfather would have been tremendously proud of how to know that his grandson is one of the most promising talents in the Israeli foreign ministry. May their memory, the survivors of the victims, be blessing. May remembrance strengthen our shared humanity, and may the bridges we build today guide future generations toward dignity, justice, and peace. Thank you.